Well, the government is up to its usual tricks, not dealing with situations well and then using that as an excuse to steal your rights. Yeah, that. As I just released the video, by the way, on my main channel, We Are Change.org, showing our reporting all the way back from January, telling you, take this seriously. The government hasn't. And now, because they didn't, they're doing excessive things that are just absolutely mind-boggling. And to talk about that, plus a lot more, we have Tim Picciott, the Liberty Advisor, who, of course, is always here with us in this Change the News show that we just started now to a month ago. I think we're close to a month, but anyway, let's just
we can almost get monetized now. So after 1 month, you can be monetized. So now we can take the monetization.
Good luck with that, having me on board, since of course we just got demonetized, but that's a whole nother story, to say the least. We'll see how it goes. We'll keep you updated here. We should be doing more live streams on the main channel, but we're going to keep going back and forth here. So this is one of the backups that we've set up. So welcome, and welcome to the insanity of our everyday life that, again, is made worse by government intervention. As the first article I have here is just mind-blowing, as we're finding out that San Diego citizens are now being fined up to $1,000 or even jailed for the horrible, illicit crime of watching the sunset at beaches. In Texas,
but that could be a perfect use of your $1,200 check from the government. So, after taxes, let's say if it's 25%, you could probably you still owe the government some more money if you
around $8,000.
Yeah. So don't spend all your money in one place, and maybe it's not best use spent going to the beach, I guess is all we're trying to say here. So.
Yeah. Now I understand some of the, precautions and people being respectful of other people's spaces, especially the elderly and the old, but this is insane. This is crazy. I've seen a lot of people get fined. I've seen a lot of people get arrested. I've seen a lot of people even be publicly shamed, like in the UK, for being alone in nature. And again, that's just absolutely ridiculous. Another thing that's ridiculous is what's also happening in a Texas city that is now mandating its people to wear masks. This is, of course, as the government, the CDC, the Surgeon General, the World Health Organization, we're telling everyone, the masks don't work. And now they do. And now as this has been made worse by government telling us not to wear masks, they're now going to fine us for not wearing masks. I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding me. This is absolutely ridiculous. And Tim, I want to jump to a story one up ahead to talk about the Surgeon General and his recent asinine, idiotic announcement where he literally took a T-shirt that promoted a pill to deal with the opioid crisis, a big pharma, medicine. And he took a T-shirt and he put rubber bands on it. And he's like, the N95 masks don't work, but maybe this T-shirt will, in an absolute idiotic, just a demonstration of idiocy, since, of course, there's data showing that T-shirts and particularly cotton cloth, as recommended by the Surgeon General, only stop about 20 particles from going through. And we know this because of individuals and entrepreneurs taking the situation into their own hand. There's a particular group called Sway Sew Shop that has started their kind of GoFundMe right now. And they're looking into the data, the information on what material is best to make your own makeshift masks. And guess what? It's not a T-shirt. The T-shirt idea is an absolute horrendous one, but they did find out through their studies, through their independent reporting, that the best thing you could use as your own mask is a blue shop towel that they listed. This is an incredible article, an incredible group of people coming together, doing the science, doing the hard work, and they came out with this information days before the Surgeon General got on stage and put his little opioid medicine shirt on with his face, which again is not as effective as some of the things that absolutely are. Just another instant of just idiocy continuing to spread, that's making this situation that much worse. Also, in places like Australia, this is going to be the article before this one, by the way, Tim. And people in Australia are being arrested and fined for simply driving in their own car. I mean, yes, we got to take this seriously, but this is not serious. When you have an officer, when you have a law enforcement officer coming up stopping people all over the place, getting in contact with many people not showing any symptoms of this, and then it predominantly being spread by the people who don't have symptoms, you're making the situation that much worse. And it's so stupid to see someone driving in their car, not hurting anyone, not potentially even infecting anyone, being in nature by themselves and now saying, you know what? Since you're not doing what we're told, we're now going to come near you. We're going to make sure you don't isolate, and we're going to throw you in a box filled with a bunch of people. I mean, this couldn't be more ridiculous, more asinine than it is. And there's no reason why you should trust the government to have your best interests at heart. As of course, we have also a New York City health official member. This is again the health New York City committee member who literally was talking about fighting racism and being defiant and going out to large parades as a way to fight all of this that now is fear-mongering everyone, talking about caskets and mass graves in Central Park. Again, this is in these two tweets. I don't know if you're showing them right now, Tim, by Mark D. Levin, again, New York City major health official, that again, underplaying this, not taken seriously, and now massive fear-mongering, mass graves in Central Park. These two tweets show you exactly what you need to know about the government's response. And it's absolutely freaking ridiculous. And it's also ridiculous. The next story, I think you should talk about this one, Tim, what is happening with Amazon and of course also Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. So yeah, what's going on right now? We got Amazon is tracking its warehouse staff, and get this, they will fire its warehouse staff for failing to socially distance themselves, and they're only going to give them one warning. And so, I mean, just imagine how much of a police state, and, you know, I've also reminded people you can't have a police state without the police, and so, you know, the government officials are there, and to back things up to your point, I mean,
but just one thing, and also Amazon has been caught firing people because they've been asking to clean the facilities, to sterilize them, to disinfect them. Amazon, the people who call for that, fires them, and they refuse to even shut down their factories for a half an hour to an hour just to clean. They refuse to do that. There's been a number of Amazon employees getting sick, and now they're implementing these draconian rules, giving you only one warning for acts. I mean, this is just crazy and just speaks to the true nature of what Amazon actually is. Sorry, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, no, I was going to back up to your other point there and say, you know, at least with the other police articles that we had going on, people getting fined for $1,000 going to a beach, getting $1,000 for, you know, driving around. You know, reminds me of, you know, from the place you just fled, New York State, which is the place I fled. I'm originally from upstate New York. And, which you guys can be sorry for me for being from there, but no, when it comes to, I mean, what did they have, like the $1,000 or they had some sort of not $1,000 permit. They had a permit in order to gaze at stars was going around just a few months ago.
Yeah, that was before this entire sickness. You needed a stargazing permit that you had to pay the government for to be allowed to be in national parks at night. Yes, this was before. This is the big nanny state. This is the total centralized control grid that wants control of every aspect of your life to the upteenth littlest degree. And it's absolutely insane. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, but then getting back to this Amazon article, though, the spokesman added individuals who intentionally violate our social distancing guidelines will receive 2 warnings. On the second documented offense, termination may occur. So it sounds like it's actually 1 warning, and that because the second one you're done. But anyways, yeah, I guess I'm sure it probably depends who the people are. Of you know, I'm sure politics will be inside of there. But you know, luckily I don't work inside an Amazon facility. Maybe if we have any, you know, people listening right now that do, maybe if they want to give us any tips on, you know, how things are going on, you guys can do that, or maybe you don't want to leave it in the comments, so that way Big Brother Jeff Bezos doesn't find you. But speaking of Big Brother Jeff Bezos is the world's richest man again, with $113 billion, despite giving away $36 billion to his ex-wife in divorce settlement, as coronavirus pandemic sees number of billionaires tumble by 226 in just 12 days. I mean, everybody cue the world's smallest violin right now. You know, that they're half of them are poorer than they were a year ago. But yeah, I mean, let's take a look at, you know, a lot of these billionaires are going to be the ones who, and I don't hate billionaires, and I'm not, you know, hating on people who have money, but what I do hate is, like, especially like in the airline industry, when the airline spends, you know, $46 billion on buybacks and then requests $50 billion loans. And so who's getting rich off of this? You know, it was all the billionaire owners of those companies even like the Carnival Cruise Lines and all these other cruise lines, it's all major billionaires that own them. But then we have to use our tax money to then bail them out. But we get the chicken feed. Here's your nice $3,000, Mr. and Mr. Smith, for your family of 4. Meanwhile, we're going to saddle you with $60,000 of debt, and then play off the populace, against one another. So yeah, I mean, it's just more ridiculousness going on, and
And it's people like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk that are lobbying for more bailouts for themselves and their companies and their interests. Again, the way that Amazon has been treating this should make people aware of what the company truly is. I mean, again, one of the world's richest people, again, even after a divorce, he just lost $36 billion to his ex-wife. Still, he was able to regain that because of this insanity. He also was very smart. Some people say too smart, and was able to get out of the stock market, sell off a lot of his shares right before this major crash. As we know, a lot of other government insiders also got intelligence briefings and warnings, and then sold a lot of their stocks, of course, leaving us with the bag to hold of empty crap. And there really isn't more of a government-connected person than Jeff Bezos, with his connections, not only to the Washington Post, but also, of course, the CIA, the Pentagon, and all the number of contracts and all the number of projects that they have together that should be absolutely terrifying. Now, this is not just a man that's horrible to his workers, where workers have to literally pee in bottles because their bathroom breaks get literally timed and they only get a few of them. They don't have enough of them. But this is a man literally working to develop AI in a weaponized format. This is the man also working to break encryption so cryptocurrencies become valueless. This is also the man that worked and has already used facial recognition technology all across the world, selling that information to countries that, of course, track, trace, and database their own citizenry and treat them as slave cattle. And this is the man, I mean, gosh darn it, that somehow people see favorably? No. I mean, we should be staying away from Jeff Bezos and his company with a 10-foot frickin' pole as much as we can. But that's just my opinion. And they get us with convenience, and they get us in a good way. But we should understand that at the end of the day, we're the ones who are going to be conned by Mr. Bezos, who is not a good person.
No, he's not a good person at all. But I mean, one thing I do want to point out is you had mentioned these, CIA ties. If it wasn't for that, I forgot what the contract was called, Jedi, or maybe that's the one that they're renewing. But if it wasn't for the CIA cloud contract, they wouldn't even be profitable. So yeah, they make a lot of money, they make a lot of revenue. And so there was actually, I remember there was one quarter of 2018 where Apple had actually more profit in that one quarter than Amazon's profit for the entire existence of the company, which goes back to the mid to late 90s. So that's something important to keep in mind. Then they use all their political influence to then buy off favors with, if you or I start a business and we need to go mail something of our little business that's worth nothing, we've got to pay full rates. But if you're Amazon, then you actually get all your packages subsidized. And then you've got such a behemoth. This used to be the problem with Walmart, is you got such a behemoth on the suppliers. And originally it's a big open marketplace, just like YouTube was, just like Facebook was, just like Twitter was. Everybody come here and be free, and it's your own public square. And then once they got you, then they can just impose any will that they want on you. Now, to go back to Amazon, it's the same deal, where now that they've got so many people working in all these different places, that the politicians are like, if we didn't get this, and these many people are going to lose their jobs. Well, then think about all the other people that lost their jobs down the line of different suppliers who now, let's say if you're Campbell's Soup, I'm just making up a company obviously at random here, and this is what Walmart was famous for. And let's say you needed to get your soup down to 28 cents a can. And so then they need to go spend millions or maybe billions of dollars retooling everything, making bigger factories. And now that you've got all this debt out there, Walmart says, you know what, actually we need it for 26 cents. And you're like, well, I don't know how I can get it down. I've already cut everything. And they're like, well, if you don't do it for 26 cents, then I'm sorry, well, we're going to have to lose your contract. Well, then you're going to go bankrupt because you've already spent billions or tens of millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars. And so they really have you by the you-know-what. It's just, very predatory. I'm not against capitalism, but this is crony capitalism, where you've got the richest people in the world who own the politicians, who then he buys Washington Post, and that way he can take a tax write-off and use that as a propaganda piece, for everything else that he's got going on. So obviously you could tell we're not big fans of Jeff Bezos, but I will admit that I am guilty myself of using Amazon quite a bit, and luckily they haven't interrupted us during the segment, which that would be fitting. But yeah, that's all I've got to say, Luke, on when it comes to Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, and he looks like a freaking evil criminal villain. Look at him, for frick's sakes. If there ever was a case for an evil villain, I mean, the case would be made very strongly with Jeff Bezos. Even just looking, he looks like Dr. Evil.
Well, then you've got that. Yeah, then you've got that photo where not to switch, but to Zuckerberg, where he's walking through and he's got like everyone's got on the VR goggles and he's kind of playing boss. And then you've got I know there's like the photo of almost looking like Iron Man or something, where he's kind of got these like big jetpacks. He's actually pretty jacked now, Jeff Bezos. But I guess when you've got $113 billion, you can afford the best.
You can buy a lot of testosterone and growth hormone with that. To say the least. But of course, I really do see Zuckerberg and Bezos as the new kind of robber barons, as these new kind of Rockefeller, Rothschild figures, because when you look at the amount of power that they wield and the interests that they do it with and how interconnected they are with government, you really see something that is destined for an Orwellian 1984 future, as if we don't have it already. And with the government acting as incompetent and as strong-handed as it is, I don't see things going that well, but that's just my opinion. This is how I see it. If you think we're wrong, let us know why in the comment section below. We always appreciate the conversation. We always appreciate the opportunity to learn. And the best way to learn is to have an open and honest conversation. We could have that in the comment section below. We don't censor comments, so stay tuned for that, plus a lot more here on Change the News.